everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, I'm super duper excited to be giving you a new episode where we'll be discussing self-growth and developing to be the best version of ourselves. Today's topic is one that I feel affects a lot of people in their 20s, in their 30s, and their 40s. You know, anxiety is something that really can be sort of like putting you back in your shell, and can really ruin your self-esteem, and it can really hinder a lot of your goals in life. So this is a very important topic that I want to deal with because it affects a lot of people and it has such devastating effects. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we're talking about anxiety and the effect that it has on people, I just like to bring my own personal experience into this. So, at the end of last year, I was dealing with a lot of homesickness, not knowing what it is that I wanted to get out of my trip to the United States, feeling like I had not achieved my goals because I obviously told everyone that I came to the United States to try and make something of myself, and perhaps even going into modeling. And you know, I just feel like there were so many expectations that I had of myself and that I feel like everyone had of me, and it was not coming into fruition. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, was I playing myself? Was this like something that, you know, I just bit off more than I can chew? And it just, you know, every time you go to bed, you go through like a little like checklist of all the things that you've done that day, and I felt like I was doing nothing. I felt like I was just a zombie just existing, and I honestly felt like my self-esteem was at an all-time low, and I had no control over my life. I literally had no grip over my life. And then I went home, as I explained to everyone else, and I think that once I got home and looked at my goals again, I was, apart from, you know, just refocusing on what my goals were, dealing with anxiety, with the anxiety parts, I think came with meditating. And what meditating taught me was that to focus on your breathing, right? So when you're focusing on your breathing, that is something that you have control over. That's something that, you know, you can literally think through as you're doing it. And I felt that I could apply that to all the things that were giving me anxiety. So I broke up my issues or my expectations into two categories. One was the things that I could control, and then one was the things that I could not control. And as soon as I started writing down the things that I could not control, I just started letting go of those things. Like, I don't have control over a lot of things, like just things that I you know, that I'm wishing and praying for a miracle for. I have no control over that. I'm hoping for some sort of divine intervention, and just to accept that that is something that I cannot control, and therefore I cannot allow it to rule my life. Like, half the work was done. So once you start looking at the things you have control over versus the things you have no control over, you know, actually a lot of the time the things that we keep mulling over in our minds are things we genuinely do not have control over. But once you've let that go, you can now focus on the things that you have control over, and even that can still give you a lot of anxiety, right? And I think the anxiety comes from just not starting. I think that anxiety comes from fear and not knowing what that particular activity, if I started on it, where will it take me to an unknown, right? Because we like to stick to the things that are familiar to us, things that feel like we have some form of control over, and those are the things that just make us like go, you know, I'm onto something here. But after a while, like, comfort becomes uncomfortable when you know that you're not succeeding in life, and you know you're not progressing in life, and then that's when it starts to build this anxiety. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you're just so comfortable with the things that you are familiar with, you're so comfortable with the things that just seem right to you, that eventually you're like, I'm not challenging myself. Because you know when you're lying to yourself and you're like, I'm not challenging myself, I'm not going any further than I know that I can go, and you know, then it's you know what you should be doing, you know what track you should be on, but you're scared to take on that track because it's going to require change, it's going to require a different level of you. So you try to resist it, and when you start resisting it, more and more anxiety grows, because you're like, I'm not growing, I should be growing, but I'm not doing anything to grow, but this thing scares me, and you're just going in this constant rut and write it down. Write everything down that is giving you anxiety. Just write it down. I promise you, it makes it so much easier for you to just like deconstruct what is going on in your brain. And when you've written it down, say, okay, this thing that's giving me anxiety, firstly, is it something that is pressure from myself, or is that pressure from an external source? And is this external source, does that external source matter? Like, is this somebody who really has a major influence in my life, that I feel like without their okay, without their affirmation, you know, I would be, you know, feeling a little unstable about things? Because half the time the things that we pressure ourselves to achieve come from outside sources and people who genuinely don't care. Let me tell you a secret about life, just on the side, right? You think people think about you, but trust me, people are also thinking about themselves and how you are thinking about them. So eventually, like inevitably, none of us are thinking about other people. We're just so concerned with ourselves. So don't be so stressed about what other people think of you, because they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves and what you think of them. So once you get over that, you realize that half of your problems are no longer there, because no one really cares. No one really cares about you. They're too preoccupied with themselves. And that's also another major pressure that you can take off of your plate, and you can focus on the things that you know that you should be doing. And once you whittle that down, you'll find that it's like just 2 or 3 things that you know that you should be doing, like maybe exercising, maybe, you know, studying a lot more than you should be, or maybe changing careers. And when you break those like problems down, then you should start telling yourself, okay, I have this duration in which I should be getting over this problem. So in summary, what I'm trying to tell you basically with dealing with anxiety, the first thing is separate the two. What is it that I have control over? What is it that I do not have control over? Leave the things that you have no control over. They're always going to be there. Whether you're worrying back and forth about it, they're not going to change because you have no control over that. Then you look at the things that you have control over. Seriously ask yourself whether or not those pressures that are coming at you, whether they're not they're pressures that come from other people that you generally don't care about, or whether there are genuine pressures that you care about for yourself, right? Once you start looking at the things that you care about yourself, you give yourself a time frame in which you are trying to accomplish these things. Please bear in mind that a lot of the things that we think we can do, multitask, you can't do. Your brain is already resisting the change. Now you want to add like multiple changes, and you are setting yourself up for failure. So don't do that to yourself. Like, let that go. Don't try and do a million things all at once, because you're going to reach burnout and it's just too much. So you're going to focus on one task at a time, prioritizing obviously which task is the most important. Then once you do that, you say, okay, I'm going to do this thing on this week, and then I'm going to do this on that week, and so forth. And you will find that your anxiety, ladies and gentlemen, will start subsiding. And every time you get a spur of it, you notice it, you ask yourself, is it something I have control over? Is it something I have no control over? And where is it coming from, and how can I deal with it, and in which time frame can I deal with this matter? And it becomes easier. And then over and above everything else, meditate, meditate, meditate. Guys, I cannot stress how important meditation is. It really just helps you to gather some sort of like coping mechanism when you are stressed, or even when you are not stressed. You just are able to quiet down the mind to a granular level and ask yourself fundamental questions. And that's how I've been able to quiet down the noise in my mind and all the pressure that's in my mind, and just move things properly in certain compartments and deal with them correctly, instead of having this mumbo jumbo in your head. So I cannot stress enough, mental health comes with meditation. And if you cannot get over your anxiety, you feel like it's just so overwhelming, there is nothing wrong with speaking to a professional about your anxiety. There is nothing wrong with prioritizing your mental health. It's so important that you prioritize it, because I mean, without your mind, where are you exactly in life? Like, what are you going to be able to achieve if the map is completely messed up and you don't know where you're going? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited that I was able to have this topic with you, because I think it's something that really is bothering so many of us, and I never want you to feel like you're alone, and I never want you to think that everyone else's life seems so planned. No, we're all trying to get through this thing together. We're all trying to make sense of this thing called life. The sun is so bright in my face right now. Like, 1 minute the sun is not bright, the next minute it's like super bright. You know, I'm so sorry if you can't really see my face properly. So ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my blog, memoirsofablazer.com, where we discuss all of these big topics. I did speak about anxiety in that topic, and that's where I was like, wow, you know, so many of us are going through this, and from that feedback I felt perhaps that I should bring it to my YouTube community. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at KingKhanya91 and on Facebook Khanya Modipa. Thank you so much for all your support as always, and I will see you next time. Bye.